Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Terenik. I'm the Director of Planning and Development for Atlantic City. Welcome to the 28th Noontime Talk, monthly Noontime Talk. The intent is to create a dialogue on a variety of development issues, and it's really been a helpful information for us in the Planning Department as we move forward and make decisions. What we've tried to do in the Planning Department is leverage the assets we have. Sometimes we call it the low-hanging fruit. And the beach and boardwalk are clearly one of our best, two of our best assets. And thank you. And as I found when I started to learn about it, we could probably do more to leverage these assets. And in particular, what really triggered these discussions was, and my research, was the fact that all the beach leases are up now. So going into the next season, we certainly want to get the beach leases secured. So I think the message for the taxpayers is that we probably could be making more money off of our beach right now. So we're going to at least try and work towards covering our costs of the beach patrol and the maintenance for the beach. So with that, I have a short slideshow, and then we're going to open it up to the public, okay? To your questions. Let's see if I can actually, okay. So obviously, we have a long history. This is what drew people originally to Atlantic City. We want to build on that tradition. Still one of our best assets. We certainly do leverage our beaches for a lot of activities, beach concerts, recreation opportunities, contests, events. But we also have to be concerned about beach protection and restoration. We have a beach build project that's starting soon. We also are required to provide public access. All of our beaches are on our recreation and open space inventory, which is regulated by Green Acres, a division of the DEP, and that's really important to think about as we move forward with uses. We have to allow for public access to the beaches and to anything on the beaches. Beach bars is something that we've had a tradition of and that sets us apart from other New Jersey communities. I don't believe others have beach bars, and with them come issues and concerns as well. Our beach patrol has quite a tough job to do. We're different than a lot of other communities because we have a lot of people that visit Atlantic City that have never been to the ocean before, don't know how to swim, may have been having too much fun, and it results in quite a number of rescues. They had 966 rescues this past summer, 538 medical assistance, and 300 and something lost children. So just the rescues alone, 966. And I think there's some lifeguards, former lifeguards. Joe Doherty, Tom, were you a lifeguard? Any other former lifeguards? They do a really, really great job, and not an easy job, that's for sure. Okay, so what we have been doing is we do 4-year beach leases. We've done this in the past, and we have minimum bids. We don't get much more than the minimum bid. A lot of the beaches, and they're broken up by block, don't even get any bids on them, especially more in the inlet. Obviously, there's not as many people there. Beach bars have an additional cost to them, and we made a total beach lease revenue of $218,000 in 2016, and that's where I think we have an opportunity. Wildwood does a ice cream concession where they make over $100,000 a year just for their ice cream concession, just to put it in context. We researched several other towns and what they generate income from, and we feel that there's a lot of opportunity. So we at least, again, want to cover our costs, which actually, in Green Acres, they don't want to see you making a profit off of recreational lands. But we have a long way to go before we get there. Now, one other tool that we've used in our toolbox as an area in need of rehabilitation, which we've gotten that designation in 1994, we're allowed to adopt redevelopment agreements, and they let us get around certain laws legally. And that would include entering directly into an agreement with a lessee or a buyer of a property without going through a competitive process. So in the case of the Bungalow Beach Bar, the city did enter into a long-term redevelopment agreement for the area of the beach bar, as well as an area just on the beach side of the boardwalk that they plan to develop into cafes, restaurants, and retail. Okay, and that's at California Avenue. So that's a model that a lot of developers are asking for because they want some longer-term leases. So in particular, we're actually having a lot of the resorts, the casino resorts, and properties like Showboat ask for longer-term leases because they want to do major investments on the beach. Spas, pools, Bungalow has a pool, nicer beach bars, and the question is, how can they do that with a 4-year agreement? Kind of what Steel Pier had gone through for years. They would only get a 4-year agreement, so they never really could put a lot of money into it. I think the city would like to see investment in the beach. They can make better attractions and other things that get people to come here and creates jobs and people spend their money here. And it also creates a different feeling. So we like the idea of doing that, and we're trying to figure out how to get there. So with following the legal process. So formally, this is how we did our beach lease map. Pretty much each block had a different beach lease number, and they went up to auction in a public forum in this room. And people would auction and bid them up. But again, all of those that are not shaded, no one bid on those. Okay, so that's all area where something could potentially happen. And when I talk about something happening, I don't necessarily mean a structure. I mean activities, recreation activities, rentals, like kayak rentals, things like that. So we still have a lot of opportunity. So that is to Caesars, and then this is the rest of the way. Now, obviously, in the middle of the city, we have a lot of beach leases and a lot of activity happening. And there's other things that are indicated. So, let's see. Oh, just to mention on the beach bill, they are going to be starting, it's the entire Absecon Island, but they are going to be starting at the inlet and working their way down. So everyone keep your fingers crossed it's going to be done by Memorial Day. That's the plan, but it depends on the storms and whether or not they have to come back and refill. One thing that makes our program, our beach, more expensive, they have to extend the outfall lines as well. The outfall where the stormwater drains to. It's about an $18 million project total for Atlantic City's portion, and the city is required to pay just under 10% of that. And the state is lending us the money to move the project forward immediately. Okay, so these are our goals: create more diverse attractions, recreation, amenities, increase revenue, designate areas for concerts and events, possibly like long-standing locations. And Nancy Egri is here. She handles our special events and has done a great job, and that is a lot of coordination that goes into it. Nancy, how many events did we hold in 2016? I didn't know if I got
about 44 on each.
Wow, yeah, so there's a lot going on, from competitions to races to concerts, and each one has a lot of details associated with it. And we want to move quickly to get these agreements in place because property owners want to move forward with their improvements right now. And of course, we have to continue our public access. Other towns are doing zip lines, inflatable slides, Zorb balls, which is, I think, something you get in that's inflatable and you try and play soccer in it or something like that. Wildwood gets over $40,000 a year to have Zorb balls on the beach, by the way. So something that could be family friendly and fun. Another idea is personal storage boxes, and I want to hear your comments on whether you think that people would rent those. In Cape May, they rent them for $400 a season. In Wildwood, they're brightly covered, very cute little storage boxes where you can put your chair and umbrella, and you rent it for the season. You put your own padlock on it, and you don't have to carry your stuff home. Hobie storage, Sea Isle City does that, and kayak storage I mentioned. Okay, so now we're redrafting the map. And this is just a draft, and this is why I'm presenting it to the public, because we want to get your comments. So starting at Jackson Avenue, we could possibly have kayak rental at that first block. Then the tan area is the possibility of Hobie Cat rental, and obviously Lance is also our risk manager. Their responsibility would be on, obviously, the owner for anything that would happen, or if there's a storm, it would have to be moved. And then personal storage boxes possibly, but there's a lot of opportunity until you get to Albany Avenue to do family-friendly activities on the beach, right? Then you have what we're proposing to call resort leases. So any of the casinos, and again the Showboat, maybe even Stockton, because they want to have something special in front of their beach. They can have a resort lease, which allows them to kind of control the things that happen on that beach, and they can have everyone wearing the same kind of uniform. It's like when you go to a resort on the island somewhere, and everything is matching and consistent, and you feel like you're in in one place. Rather than us, we have a lot of sublessees that rent chairs and umbrellas in places, and it can get a little messy. Moving on, when we get down to Arkansas, and the pier having a more permanent stage, possibility of having permanent, meaning just for the summer, that stays up so concerts can happen all the time, or at least more frequently, right? Because that has proven to be one of the #1 economic drivers in the city. If you talk to the hotels, they say we don't have any business midweek unless there's a concert in town. So how do we grow concerts? We have the Stagehand Union here. Thank you for coming, because this is about economic development for us as well. And also a permanent area for other kinds of events like contests and things like that. And then moving on, let's see. The yellow areas are redevelopment plans. Remember I talked about the Bungalow Beach Bar, and we have a lot of redevelopment plans throughout the city, but there is the one Bungalow Beach redevelopment plan. The green area is the permanent stage or events area. That has to be coordinated with the Bally's Beach Bar, for example. So if that area gets used for the concerts, how does the beach bar continue to function, and those two things not get conflicted in any way? And then the red lines are really just the resort leases. And the blue squares, there's 2 up by the inlet, there's one on Jackson Avenue. They're the surfing beaches. So is there an opportunity to do more surf lessons, surf rentals, stand-up paddle boards, surfing, like where you ride the waves? So there's a lot of opportunity there as well. We also have locations on our boardwalk that people have expressed interest in. New York Avenue Pavilion, a couple pavilions. So we want to put those out to bid for leases as well. Street ends that are kind of dead ends where the boardwalk and the street end hit, that's an opportunity for leases as well. And we have done some of those. The Celebrity Beach Bar is on the boardwalk, Bungalow Beach Bar, not Beach Bar, Celebrity Restaurant. Okay, so before we go on, I want to introduce Marilyn Lennon. She worked for the DEP as the Assistant Commissioner of Land Use. She also spent a lot of time working in Atlantic City as a consultant helping casinos get their development approvals. So she has a great perspective on land use, and she did a great job balancing protection of the environment with development goals. So Marilyn, do you want to talk a little bit about what we have to deal with the DEP?
Oh boy. No, that's really not fair. But
just maybe,
yeah, I mean,
want to talk about
we actually ran into each other about an hour ago, and I was at the League of Municipalities. So yeah, so I have some of my brother Mark, and works with me, and Brian McPeak at PSNS. I started working in Atlantic City. I think my first project was the Boardwalk Regency, before it was Caesars, doing a parking garage. And we started coining phrases like energy control centers instead of, like, powerhouse, and transportation centers. And You know, it's so funny because there was such a great dream, and the regulatory constrictions on building on the beach were pretty heavy back then. So I spent time in the private sector, and then 4 years under Governor Christie as the Assistant Commissioner of Land Use, in charge of all coastal zone management. And you have various regulatory constraints going forward, as Elizabeth pointed out. You have the Army Corps of Engineers program, the Beach Replenishment Program. Federal dollars, for anybody who went through Sandy dollars or anything like that, or the REM program, come with a high cost. So that when you accepted the beach replenishment monies, you also accepted something called 408 restrictions on your beach that talk about what you can and can't do in terms of how anything you do on the beach affects their project or their preeminency over what you're going to do. But people like Tom Sykes was very successful with various projects and looking at things. The Hard Rock, when it was proposed down by the old Hilton, creatively dealt with these things by looking at the boardwalk extension. They look at things like how...
I was waiting to butt it, he was waiting.
Oh.
But in fairness, we went up to the state with Hard Rock with a concept for a beach bar on the beach. And we had only one problem. We said, this is what we'd like to do. This is the direction that we think would really work, but we don't know how to do it. And Maryland said, we'll show you how to do it. And the DEP really helped craft the directions for those other mountains. Without, that meeting could have been 3 seconds long or a year and a half, and that's what happened.
But to the point, I mean, there's other things that have come along. The Army Corps program, the new FEMA regulations about your flood insurance, you know, that went into place. It's still not in place yet. They haven't adopted the maps, but that's going to come into play about building in high hazard zones.
Will we not be able to build structures, even the temporary beach bars, when there's if they consider that a V zone?
It depends whether it's, I look at the architect, whether it's considered habitable floor area and under code and stuff like that. The new flood elevations, now you're dealing with code, that's code. Mm-hmm. So like even with your houses. Yeah. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, okay? All I'm saying is that anything when you're visioning and thinking about the future here, remember that there's regulatory constraints. One, by the Green Acres programs that, that take control of all open space in the town, because once you got Green Acres money, they don't like to see anything diverted or disposed. Right. And these leases, when they come up, the Green Acres estate's probably going to be looking for their...
They review all of our green leases.
And they're big.
Yes.
But I think that there's such great opportunities in your visioning. You know, everybody has been trying to sell the casinos and this and that. When you go beyond and look at the beach as a destination, you know, and I think that there's rare opportunities here. And I'd be willing to help any way I can.
Certainly. I have one final question. It seems like Atlantic City does have looser regulations environmentally. The Atlantic City rules.
See, under CAFRA, okay, or as they call the Coastal Zone Management Plans, they recognize Atlantic City as being a very special place in a special urban area. It actually goes all the way back to the Coastal Zone Management Plan that they said Atlantic City, Miami Beach, a number of other coastal areas that were urban in nature have a special, since it's already built out, and not that you're less environmentally sensitive, but unlike some of the other barrier islands, there's more opportunity in a built environment to manage and recognize that there's active recreational opportunities available. So you could do things, it's not looser really, you could do things in Atlantic City that you couldn't do in Brigantine or Longport or Ventnor or the surrounding areas. So there are opportunities because you have these special rules. There is a lot more opportunity to do things on the beach to promote tourism, ecotourism, and also be an amenity to neighborhoods, be a destination for the mainland for people to come. The idea, when you look up to Seabright, where they have these, they're private beach clubs, you wouldn't have that here, but if you have an amenity where you create a destination of somebody, it would be like a second home on the beach, not cabanas, but to have that here, that's an opportunity.
So very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any way I could help.
Any questions for Marilyn on development regulations? Thank you so much.
Oh,
I'm sorry to put you on the
yeah,
spot
that's-
like that, but what an opportunity. But I wanted to make the point that, once again, Atlantic City has such an advantage. And that's why I love this job. We really have a lot at our disposal to use to our advantage, and we haven't. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so now I want to open it up to the public to see what your thoughts are. Nate?
A couple ideas, maybe with the beach, see if maybe an area where people can try their drones. That's really big right now. It's only going to get bigger. Maybe a vendor in there, or you can lease out, or people that bring their drones. And then I'm wondering, a couple concepts that's already been mentioned or already been done. Horseback riding on the beach, or permitting on the beach to drive your four-wheel drive like Brigantine has. Has that been brought up at all?
We've been talking about that before, allowing people if they carry a rope and certain provisions in the back. Yeah, how does everybody feel about that?
Driving on the beach?
Yeah.
When?
In the off-season.
Well,
In the off-season generally in other towns now. Atlantic City, again, is a different animal. It's people that fish, people that surf, and it's an opportunity. You're concerned about it. Go ahead.
horses, but not cars.
Okay, that's fair. What if we have an oil leak? I'm just going to put it. It's it's four-wheel trucks generally that are only permitted. Okay, other ideas? Libby.
I can't be specific, but we really need something for the teenagers and for the young children, sort of like in Midtown. My 16-year-old granddaughter comes, I don't know what to do with her when she comes to visit.
Yeah.
So clearly, we need to think in terms of having some kind of recreational opportunities for those children of that age, and also for the younger children, like splash pads or whatever.
Yeah, that's
you
a
might
good.
want to put there.
Like a splash park or something like that. Alrighty. Next. Harriet.
There used to be a volleyball court in front of the Hilton a long time ago.
Is there volleyball still? I remember
There's
seeing.
Albany
They
Avenue.
got rid of it.
Albany Avenue.
Between Schimmel and Revel
also.
Yeah.
Right, but
Oh, but
Yeah,
is
all
it
the way
now?
down.
now
Anything
it's
now? Oh, volleyball, yeah, that would be good.
It's down right now.
down now. I
Okay.
think
Right.
Fort Blessing owns that now.
And
Mhm.
also, and they have yoga classes.
Oh, well, you're thinking about that volleyball area, but
Right.
we are talking about on the beach.
On the beach.
He is probably going to build something in that area, by the way.
Also, juice bars or snack bars.
Yeah. Oh, well, by the way, that came up, there was a report done by the ULI Urban Land Institute on Southeast Inlet. I don't know if anyone saw that. It was on the CRDA website. Having some kind of a pop-up food concession in the inlet area, Southeast Inlet, on that beach area. Do you think there's enough people there that would support that? Because I know it's a big surfing beach there.
Well, the food might draw people. And one of the things I've been blessed to be poor and backpacked all over the world, that in most locations on the beaches, they have little urchins, let's call them, young people, who go out and they provide service. They'll run to the restaurants and bring food to you.
Ah.
So the city could, trying to make money, license people to serve people on the beaches and, run to the restaurants, run
I
back,
think some of
bring
the
food.
casinos may already do that. Do the casinos do that, where they?
Yeah, the casino, they're allowed to do that.
They do that?
And there's some
But,
restaurants that
there's-
serve on the beach too.
There are a few, but as a way, and if the city could promote itself as a place where
Customer service.
get service on the beach, you might draw people. The food itself, having that ability, might draw some.
Right.
I agree, they should really look into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like, if there's another restaurant, to have a bar that doesn't have the restriction that you have to be 18 or 21.
A bar?
If there's, restaurant. Right now,
Oh, I see what you-
I'm not
You're
able
right.
to bring my
You
kids.
cannot bring anyone younger than 18, what is it, Dominic? Can
21.
some-
21.
21. So, right, where you would want to eat, or, obviously they're not drinking, but allowing a restaurant on the beach that allows children. Okay, like a kid-friendly.
Real quick, to the point of volleyball, Dan Gallagher, Sports Commission, we have so many clients that would not only, whether Great American Volleyball or East End Volleyball that already run their annual tournaments here, if you have that already innate structure here, you would have not only tournaments that are run throughout the summer, however, you'd be attracting AAU Volleyball, who's now considering putting their events in a conference center where they could be on the beach and use, you know, the restaurants or other revenue streams on the boardwalk. And it's not that stringent to upkeep volleyball nets. We have 15 volleyball nets that are stationed in the ground. That would also attract tournament directors to come down and run tournaments annually. So not only would you have a tournament that would run year long or a league that would run year long, but you would attract tournaments to come in and kind of all shoot on a weekday or weekend. So,
I'm glad you came again, because you're involved with the sports commission and other events. So what events have you had on the beach so far?
We've had a lot, yeah. So Great American Volleyball, East End Volleyball already run their tournament here. We had a pro water.
Where is it, by the way?
Right there, the last couple of years there in front of Ballard's Beach Bar.
Okay.
This past year, Great American Volleyball, the Big Shot tournament run by Great American Volleyball is the biggest beach volleyball tournament in the state. We also hosted Pro Watercross for part of their annual tour. We put in Clearwater, Florida, Panama. We had them last year in front of resorts, so it was 100 jet skis racing out there, freestyle and racing as well. We have plenty of different organizations and groups that are looking to come in. We have a whole voting group that wants to come in right now. They are in Seaside. They've outgrown Seaside, so there's a great opportunity for them to come next year. We have an open water swim group that's looking to come in. A lot of triathlons and marathons are looking to come in. So just working with Nancy and the rest of the municipalities has been great to work with thus far, and there's a lot of opportunity. Some places you get held up is the cost of doing business, getting the materials across the boardwalk, the load bearing of the boardwalk.
Okay.
You know, how much it costs for a police detail or the appropriate fire and municipal workers to make sure the event is a success and safe. And those are all vitally important. But how can we package that to make it profitable for the client that's doing the event on the beach?
So it would be a really good investment for us as the city to reinforce or have more concrete crossovers.
Absolutely. And you'll see that, you know, even with some of the other events. I think that's a big success.
Okay.
Yeah, it really never stops. There's so many options at the beach. You have Ultimate Frisbee that wants to come here. I mean, it's just rugby, it's sand soccer.
Do you set up bleachers that people watch?
You can.
Okay.
You can, and then, but you know, once you start doing that, engineering has to come in and make sure it makes a lot of sense. And how can we streamline that process to make it not as burdening?
Would it be helpful if there was, is it possible, and Nancy, you can probably help with this, is it possible to have bleachers set up for the whole summer to designate an area? And I know each event or competition probably needs different spacing needs. But that's what we're kind of talking about, like
100%.
around Arkansas Avenue, one side for concerts, maybe other pier, one side for sporting events.
Sure.
And it's permanent. And I don't know if anyone has been in Santa Monica, but they actually have a playground on the beach with, you know, children's play equipment and things like that. And you throw that in there. I don't know, would that be okay with
Yeah, I mean, anything that's not considered a diversion from the primary purpose
recreation
of tourism and public access.
Would you have to take playground equipment away in the winter and back, or you could stay? Well, the beach bars stay up now, too.
And well, the beach bars are, it's at their own risk, and it's the infrastructure that stays in place. Anything that become a projectile or a storm event is removed.
Got it. Nancy, any thoughts on that, the idea of something more, you know, permanent for the summer?
No, I think it's a good idea. It's, you know, a lot of times when we're looking at events, you know, whether it's for the sports commission or somebody that individually comes in, a lot of times the driving factor is the size of the beach, access to the beach. You know, there's only certain areas of the boardwalk where you can take a truck over. And it's not even just taking the truck over the wood, whether or not it will support it, but once you get over it, you have to, you know, is the ramp big enough? Some of those ramps go down and then they make a sharp turn. You you can get the truck over the boardwalk, but you can't make it around that turn. So again, that may take you to a different area, or it may lead to additional, income or additional cost because they have to find a different way to get it over. That was the big issue we had when the jet skis came in, was how we're going to get the jet skis back and forth for refueling and that kind of stuff. So, a lot of times that's what drives where these events go. But, certainly if you could find an area that would, give access to the heavier vehicles and that kind of stuff, I think the more things you put up there that are, I'll say, permanent, or at least seasonal,
Yeah.
I think the more things you attract.
Great.
Another thing would be very successful skateboard rink somewhere on the beach. I
Okay.
know that would be a definite success because there's a lot of kids I know, they come and ask, where is this skateboard rink? There would be an excellent way to go about it.
There was an effort started
It
years ago.
was years ago. They
Yeah,
would
well,
talk about it, but never happened.
Councilman Kurtz has been continuing to try and find a
Oh,
location.
yeah.
He was suggesting around Albany Avenue.
That would be
The-
great.
there's
That
some
would be the
parkland
perfect
there.
spot.
So, I was thinking because, it could impact neighbors. I was thinking in the area where you have a lot of vacant land between South Carolina and MLK, it's not going to bother residents there per se, and it may help change the negative behavior in that area. Do you know what I mean? Like put it
Yeah,
in an
but
area
guess what?
that
These
needs to change.
kids in their skateboard, they're not looking for trouble. They just
No,
want
I
to
know.
have
No, that's what I'm saying. It'll help make an area better.
clean,
there.
fun.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, beach access for the transients that we have. Most of our people that go to the beach are not locals.
Uh-huh.
They're transients. You can't park somewhere and then get to the beach easily here. Now, what I was thinking and have mentioned, that dead area down here. I just got back from Orlando and an epiphany. Everything is geared to the tourists there. They have the parking area and they have little trams going back and forth. And you don't mind going in and paying $20 to park your car because you can get someplace. If that land there could be used for the transients during the summer because of the beach,
Visitors,
the
yeah.
concert goers, anybody coming to town can get to that area where it would be big enough to park your car safely, have a little tram, get you back and forth to the beach or wherever you want to go up on the boardwalk and make an afternoon out of it, like a lot of us did when we were younger. The boardwalk has changed. Now you go to a casino and it's a destination. Before, we used to come down to walk the boardwalk. Let's not reinvent the town. Go on our basis.
So
it
more
works.
like better parking, like access through better parking.
Yeah, and
So I think that lot, the Pinnacle lot, Dale, they would ask for approvals for a parking lot, right? So that whole.
Temporary lot.
Temporary, so they build
Yeah.
something there, so that will help, but, and now that we have a
Yeah,
lot of
parking
meters,
will
the
help
parking
with
is,
that.
parking is really tough on certain streets, for sure. But we'll keep working on that one. Yes,
Just have a question for you. I've been a beach concessionaire for the past 30 years.
Oh, what do you do, the umbrellas?
I out chairs and umbrellas.
Uh-huh.
We've been doing it for a long time. So I guess my concern is, we used to go up every 4 years for our bids of our lots.
Uh-huh.
So based on the conversation here, I'm a little bit in the dark if we're going to
Yeah.
be still bidding on certain.
Yes. So the whole other piece of all these beach leases are the concession, it's almost like concessionaire licenses. So we basically have veterans that sell ice cream, I'm pretty sure. But that is like a concession, the chairs and umbrellas. So they would be bid in the same manner that they have before, yes. With the exclusion of where a casino, but I think that's the case now. The casino gets the lease in front of their, would probably bid on the lease in front of their building, so.
Some of the comments as well, there's plenty of parking in this town. And there's plenty of empty lots. The question is the utilization of those empty lots and the beautification of those lots. It could actually be a destination, a beach destination, and really the parking is not an issue because there's such a vast amount of land that is really, I don't know who exactly owns it. It might be Bob and A.B. Schiff, and they own Tennessee Avenue,
They own a lot.
Florida Avenue block where they put the stores up there, and really they can't lease them out, maybe because there's no parking or no access for customers. Or maybe it's just too expensive and there's not enough traffic. But whatever the problem is, really, it's kind of an eyesore when you go up and down. I hate down in my own community here, but in other words, we have to beautify these lots and make those empty lots into an asset as opposed to a liability.
Right.
And when you look at the streets, you come down Pacific Avenue, you see this barren land. It's hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there is a way to do it. And I realize the Pinnacle lot, I think they got approval for 700 spaces or whatever, but it's still, there doesn't seem to be any progress here. So I know that there's a lot of money to be made, and you can ask Bill Bowen, I'm sure he'll give you that. There's a lot of money to be made in parking in this town.
I know,
Okay,
$25
because he's
right
made a
now.
fortune with it. I don't know how.
Dale, Director Finch is here. If something's an official parking lot, they can do code. I think the problem is there's a lot of vacant land that is not anything. And
I agree.
we make,
A lot of properties were demolished, but they weren't demolished properly, which means there's foundations on some of the lots, and some concrete and junk. To be a parking lot, they have to be paved and marked, and landscaped, and managed properly. There's many lots in town, so yes, there are a lot of vacant lots on the beachside Tennessee area and those areas, and it's there, but
It's all
what's
comes
the
down
best use of the
to,
lots?
yeah, and they've done a lot of code enforcement, but it's so hard to keep up with that. So the trash comes right back out again, you know what I mean? So we want to see development happen there. And the city has been trying to make that happen, but right now, it's still a risky time. But I'm very confident that'll start to happen. The Polar Coaster is going to be hopefully breaking ground in the next month or so. They expect to go before the New Jersey EDA, Economic Development Authority, in January for their final funding. That's going to be a great boom to that. That's on between MLK and Kentucky. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Hold on, did anyone not speak yet? All right, and then
Okay, I want to address the issue of beach bars as you're looking at leases and expansion. When they first started, they were in front of casinos.
Can everybody hear her? Beach bars?
I'm a low talker, I'm sorry. Beach bars started in front of casinos. Unfortunately, they have spread. And while the bungalow is a beautiful structure and it's doing well, I know that the people who live in the Ritz still have some issues with the noise from the bungalow. I live in the Ocean Club. We have 725 residential units. We pay a lot of taxes to Atlantic City. We are facing a serious economic problem because of the beach bar on Chelsea Avenue. We have realtors who now, we have 2 towers, and realtors now refer to Tower 2 as the quiet side of the building. People who live in Tower 1 or live in the front have difficulty renting and have difficulty selling because of the noise in the summer. There are realtors now who actually have renters sign a disclosure agreement. I have been told that there is going to be very loud music all summer long. And we're not talking about music that runs until 9 or 10 at night. We're talking about music that could run till 4 o'clock in the morning. And the problem with beach bars is not necessarily even intentional. There are decibel levels. And the music that's being played at the beach bar may be within the decibel level. But when that music rises, or if the wind is carrying that music, that decibel level goes up. And consequently, it is actually a health hazard because people can't sleep for nights at a time. And it's difficult. And you may be looking at me and my age And I know that it's been said that, oh, just the old people in the building complain. It's not true. I don't have a problem. I have a condo that faces the front, but I'm in Tower 2, and the noise level doesn't kill me. But there are young people who have a problem. Young people like to sleep too at some point. So it's a difficult issue. And I remember when we first moved in, the Atlanta Club had a beach bar. And when they played My Rock and Roll, I loved it. And when they got to hard rock, I didn't love it. But it was there. But it wasn't in my bedroom. But this does go into people's bedrooms. So my concern is if there's a way to zone.
I'm going to take over from here.
Yeah, a way to-
Because you're
yeah.
making the case for zoning, which
Okay.
is my forte.
Okay.
So compatible uses. So this is one of the biggest problems that I've had as a planner in this town. Because we are a resort community and we want to have things that are fun and loud and people are here to party. Just walk over to the league and you'll see it going on right now. But we also have residential on the beach. So I want to ask you guys, in the center of, well, that isn't even in the center of town. Do you think that residential should be limited and commercial and residential uses in those cases should be separate? Does that make sense to kind of separate those type of uses? Or, so, you know, as we move forward, try and keep it separate.
Elizabeth, can I make a comment, the lady live in the Ocean Club? The problem with the Ocean Club, that's not the beach bar, loud music. I'm happy to own a beach bar.
I'm her neighbor, and it's
Okay.
very...
Okay, we're not gonna get into that.
No,
The
we're not
problem
gonna
with the Ocean Club, that's the taxes they're high, and the condo fee, they're gonna increase it 30%. Basically, now what I pay on condo fee and tax at the Ocean Club, I'm thinking about to move out.
Wait, what's your point? Does it have to do with the beach bar or?
Well,
the,
because she
noise?
said people, they don't want to rent it, they want to move out the Ocean Club.
Only
That's
in
not because
specific
the laws are
areas,
mute.
Dominic.
That's
So-
the condo fee and the
Dominic,
tax there.
Dominic, listen. Okay,
Okay.
so Director Finch is here. His office has spent a lot of time measuring the decibel levels. So we could tell you that it is a challenge for us in government regardless, and we certainly want to maintain property values. But we have to, as government, move forward and think about all these concerns as we allow things. And that's the way we have to handle it, because we love to let people do whatever they want, and we've been very flexible, but we have to keep in mind all the impacts of that, and that's what our job is, so we'll try and do it. Go ahead.
I have two things. One, is the farmer's market considered in this subject?
Farmers Market, the one on Bartram
Yes.
Avenue? Yeah, that's like right on the boardwalk, right in the park
Yes,
next to the
yes,
boardwalk,
it's
yes.
in-
Sure.
There's like so many things to improve on that.
So do you like that, Farmers
I
Market?
think it's a great idea.
Okay, so
but
by the
it has
way,
no marketing.
I know we're talking about the beach and boardwalk, but right off of the boardwalk is an idea for, are we ready to talk about Tennessee Avenue or not yet? Seen it?
Just early. We'll mention a couple things.
Do you? Go ahead, you say.
Yeah, sure. So we're trying to coordinate with a couple people to redevelop a little bit of Tennessee Avenue. Part of it would involve maybe pedestrian-only type activities like the farmers market or summertime vendors, something that won't be too loud. But yeah, so it's in the early phases, but we're working on something like that.
Right, so taking the energy from the boardwalk, and by the way, the University of Virginia School of Architecture did a whole study on this, taking the energy from the boardwalk and try and bring it into the streets of the city, because you have all these people, right, millions and millions of people on the boardwalk, but then right off of the boardwalk you have vacant, dilapidated, land that is not developing, and how do you pull that? And what Zenith is doing is actually going to change Tennessee Avenue. So the properties that he and his partners own will start to then become viable, because now you're pushing away the bad and bringing in something good. Director Finch.
There is a problem with the farmer's market on Bartram because of the parking. That's a
That's
major
like
issue.
10
It's a very
seems
narrow
great.
residential area, and it's a good concept, but it's the location because of the parking issue.
Right.
Yeah, but there you get a lot of foot traffic and
Yeah.
bicycles.
People are walking.
You're allowed to ride bicycles now.
Right, but we've had a lot of complaints and concerns about parking access.
Right.
So that's the issue.
So Tennessee would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we still want one for Bartram though, too. The people depend on it.
To your point of separating residential and transient consumer type atmospheres, I think that it's a great idea. You see it in Kansas City with the Power and Light District, you see it in Philadelphia and Liberties, you see what they did in around Wrigley Stadium with now called Wrigleyville.
So you mean mixed use then?
Absolutely.
Mixing the uses,
Absolutely
right?
mixed districts, I think they work. I think what that does is create an atmosphere where you're reaching out to that professional, maybe millennial, maybe a little bit older than millennial, who has indispensable income, that's willing to go out to the bars, frequent the restaurants, and that has the capital to do that. And you're seeing that so commonly in other cities, tier 1, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities around the country that it's working. So I think any way that you can encompass those demographics, I think it makes a lot of sense.
People like to walk to where they're going.
Absolutely.
Especially, and I was talking to a realtor in Stone Harbor recently where baby boomers want to live right by the downtown so they can walk to the bars. Nobody wants to deal with drinking and driving. Some towns, like here, we have jitneys, but people do like the mixed use because they want to be in the middle of it. But they should check with you before they buy. Go ahead.
There's a few things I want to address. Number one, mixed use. I was instrumental in creating the district in Margate that is now sought after and highly priced when it was known as the Barbary Coast. It is mixed use. Second thing, historically, under the boardwalk, if you go to the French's building or the old French's building or places like that, there were restaurants or cafeterias or places serving food under the boardwalk. It wasn't a case of going anywhere because you couldn't go on the boardwalk if you weren't pressed. So a lot of our path is in our past. Tennessee Avenue, every single side street had life, and every single side street was built by the smaller entrepreneur and the small guy instead of the big guy that we seem to keep focusing on. The answer is in your people. I'm so glad to see you continuing these, and I only come to a few every now and then, but I see your progress.
Thank you. I'd rather have, yeah, that was very well said. I would rather have 100 smaller guys than one big guy, that's for sure.
So would
Because
I.
we need diversity,
Don't
and that's
keep
why.
employed.
Yes, exactly. They're the employers. Go ahead.
I was just going to agree with well, I agree with you and with the person before. I think mixed use is great. It's why I moved here. I think, and I'm not against having beach bars near Ocean Club at all. I think it's great. We just need to be able to, come together so that the music doesn't come up like I'm on the 29th floor. I know there's probably a small thing you can do to prevent it from coming. I don't care. You should be out there every night having a huge party every night till 4 a.m. As long as I don't have to hear it.
That's what we're trying to
good
do.
for you.
I mean,
So,
that's why I'm
but
here.
mixed use is
We're
great.
trying to work on this.
Yeah.
But for some people in the Ocean Club, they want to see you out of your business.
No,
That's
well,
it.
that's not what I think mixed
Look
use.
at the Ocean Club up front. I'm there for 26 years. I'm the only one left.
I know,
You know
you're a-
why?
you're a
Because I'm a
survivor.
fighter. They're not going to be able to take me out. I'm going to fight.
Dominic hired
The only one
a-
that's going to take me out, the raise and keep raise a candle fee.
Dominic.
30%.
Dominic.
Dominic, 4 o'clock in the morning,
Harriet.
over the
Stop.
decibel.
Harriet. Dominic
Not
did
you
hire
do.
a noise consultant. Go ahead.
I live across the street from McClinton Park, and in the summertime, we have loud music.
Concerts,
It
yeah.
goes on from noon until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. If it could prevail upon the people who give these concerts or make this noise, have the speakers point the other way. They don't need to be pointing at our buildings. Point them at the ocean.
All right, you're talking about the inlet. By the way, that's a whole nother opportunity, as I'm sure you all know. The boardwalk and seawall is under construction. We're getting ready to go out to bid for one other piece. We're about to finish the piece in front from Revel on. So how about that area? How about that boardwalk? That boardwalk actually is zoned resort commercial casino, believe it or not, all the way up to Pacific or Atlantic. I think Atlantic. I think that probably needs to be changed, but it is in the tourism district. What do you see on that side of our beach and boardwalk? Any thoughts? Residential?
completely mixed use because you have Gardner's Basin on one side, you have
Uh-huh.
the new boardwalk combining, so now, and you have the college on the opposite side. So now you have this completed
So
area.
commercial on the boardwalk like we have here?
Yes.
Okay.
And the beaches up there are, you have the Revel, that's about the only thing, and the guys fishing on the piers, that's great. But then you have the lighthouse and the parks and everything. It's just, that's
So
the way to do
more
it.
amenity, so in other words, it would attract more people because it's hard to find a sandwich there and stuff like
Exactly.
that,
And
right? Do you experience that at
Well, actually, we have our bagel shop. That was our first bid to
Oh.
gentrification.
the hot bagel place? Right, we could use some more, right? Where do you probably
Well,
have a lack
actually,
of
Kelsey
places.
and Kim's is very popular and excellent food. And then we have the restaurants at Gardner's Basin.
Mhm. Sure.
With Stockton coming, we need to look at the other end too. You have an untapped group of people from Ventnor, Margate, and Atlantic City, right there,
Right.
dying not to have to use a car to go to places. And with Stockton coming, that should be a big, big, big focus area.
Yeah. And I think it's gonna happen pretty naturally because of market forces,
Mhm.
as I'm already hearing. But whatever we can do to help stimulate
Right.
that.
But even things on the beach of Jackson Avenue.
Right. More family friendly?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That seems to be the family end.
Yes.
And would you say between Jackson and Albany?
Yes.
Okay, great. So more fun, recreational. So what we can do as the city is reach out to companies like this Zorb
Yes.
ball thing,
Yes.
the Trippo Slide people, and ask them to bid on those leases.
Yes.
Because they can bid on a lease, and again, no one bid on those leases, so they're available. They likely will be available.
And people ride the bicycles there. You can ride the bicycles up to Albany Avenue.
And it gives you
So-
something with the kids
Right.
to do. Okay, anyone who hasn't said anything yet? Okay, go ahead.
I just had a comment, or a thought actually. I mean, on the Revel all the way down to Gardner's Basin, I don't know about mixed use, but really what needs to be done, you have to have a more educated base or a better clientele of people in the community. The community is.
So we're
really-
trying to increase the population by 10,000 is our goal.
Right,
We
so-
are imbalanced with more lower income households, which make it very difficult to support
I
the
deal
local
on the street,
economy.
yeah,
So
I
we
deal
are
on the
trying.
streets every day. I have
Yeah.
living and boarding places. I deal with, people who don't have a lot of money. But it's prevalent. I mean, every day I see it through the community. It's just gotta be more balanced. We need to have in order for people to come here on vacation, you don't wanna see that stuff. That's what's really the detract, and I have nothing against anybody, believe me. I think everybody, even the people, they're just a couple of dollars a day they're living off, basically. But it's gotta be more mixed here in order to have people who want to come down and enjoy the community. Look, you go to Margate, you can go to Longport, it's gorgeous. You come to Atlantic City, it's a ghetto. More so than anybody really wants to admit, the casinos are surrounded by a ghetto.
Certainly.
So, I mean, that's one of the reasons that, probably Borgata, the places at the marina do a bit better because you're not faced with that. And then when most of the people who come to visit there, they don't want to come into it.
How would you change it? Besides code enforcement, we're working on all the
Well,
abandoned
some
properties.
really-
You need to
some of the-
reduce the amount of rooming houses.
Well, that could be true. I mean, I'm part of the problem. I'm not saying.
Well, just as a
I'm not.
side note.
You have to, in other words, you have to make a living here. Listen, I'm a business guy. So, do you want to reduce? Go right ahead, buy me up. I'm more than happy to take a one-way ticket out.
Well, that's-
However, I've been here for 30 years, and I work every day. It's not like.
Well, the city can take responsibility. The city approved too many rooming houses, and that was not good. So in other words, there's a very strict law that says how many rooming houses there should have been in the city, and somehow we got a lot more than
Way
that.
over, way over.
Way
Now we
over.
gotta begin to phase them out, close them down.
Right.
Well, we've been trying to close.
Hi.
I think, Wildwood Crest, at the end of the boardwalk,
Yeah.
what they have is like beautiful condos and they attract the vacationers. I think we need a spot like that in Atlantic City, which will bring a little bit more wealthier people than buy vacation homes. I think that spot should be for that.
We're trying to market the city as a second home destination
Okay.
because we are so much more fun than the other shore towns. and people can walk to places, walk to bars, and there's so many events, like those events that we're talking about, that's what brings people here. And if they're getting a room at the casino on the weekends, they are spending as much as if they just bought a condo, because it's very expensive on the weekends here. So there are some things happening, that I think, but we actually probably need a marketing campaign for Atlantic City when it comes to the second home market, because we lost it. See, when we did casinos, it seemed like we forgot everything else. You know what I mean? So all the other towns are now so far, beach towns are so far ahead of us because we stopped doing anything or having any effort. But that is huge, because by the way, if you're a taxpayer and someone's only here a couple months of the year, they're paying full freight.
Right.
They don't have their kids in the school. They don't need trash collection every week. And it really helps balance out the tax base, which I know we need. Harriet.
I have a question for the mixed use in Margate. Do you have ordinances?
Is he still here?
He's gone.
Oh, I can see that.
But my concern is, do they have, I'm all
Yes,
for
they have
mixed use,
ordinance.
but you need noise ordinances,
Oh,
you
they
need
have 'em.
time ordinances, you need enforcement of ordinances. We have no problem with having entertainment in our neighborhood. We do have a problem with the entertainment being way over the decibel level and into the wee small
All
hours
right.
of the morning.
Thank you, Harriet. All right. I try and stay within an hour. We're just there. I'll stay after if anyone has any questions. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you next month. I think the Housing Authority is going to present their exciting, very exciting plans for the future next month.